it's Smiley from the Energy Boutique with your energy forecast for Friday, July 15th. So the moon is in Aquarius all day. The moon in Aquarius gives us a little bit of an emotional break, definitely welcomed after the intense emotions we felt under the full moon in Capricorn. We get to emotionally detach in order to see things from a different perspective, from the bird's eye view, if you will, the big vision picture, and we're able to see different aspects, different sides of a matter that maybe we had tunnel vision on. We're definitely looking for connection. We're looking for new goals. We're looking for a new focus. We're looking for a new vision. And all of this energy working with some of the aspects today is definitely going to lead us to a breakthrough and gaining a little bit more clarity. So there are 10 different aspects today, and 9 of them involve the moon. The moon will be sextiling, making a beautiful interaction with Chiron, the wounded healer. This is very suggestive that we are seeing things, like I mentioned, from a different set of eyes, from a different perspective. And because of that, we're healing our inner narrative, our inner emotions, our memories, our current mindset, our perception, our understanding. Chiron, being the wounded healer, yes, does illuminate us to the pain, to the suffering, to the wounds, to the trauma that many of us should have been illuminated to under that full moon in Capricorn. And now the moon in Aquarius is here to set us free, here to liberate us, here to show us where it is that we can bust free from some of these old ways of thinking, old ways of feeling, old ways of understanding. And this particular interaction with Chiron is definitely suggesting that there's growth, there's improvement. We're having aha moments and we're seeing things from a different set of eyes. Now, the moon is going to square Uranus. Uranus rules over Aquarian energy, so this is a little bit of a tough aspect. And then we'll continue to square the true node. So here's what I'm going to say. We have a little bit of a conflict because emotionally, we don't know what to do with the information that we just received. Sometimes when we heal certain aspects of ourselves, when we detach from a certain identity, a certain label, a certain perception or understanding, we don't know what to do with it. Many of us have intertwined our pain story, our trauma story so freaking deeply in our identity that we don't know who it is that we are without it. Now, we just had a shift in energy, just had this amazing growth, amazing improvement, healing particular wounds, but now this is leaving us confused. It's leaving us disassociated. We don't know what to think. We don't know how to process it. Yes, this Uranian energy is the great awakener. It likes to shake us up, likes to disrupt things in order for us to figure out what it is that we actually want, need, and desire, especially emotionally. And because we have all this new information coming at us, we do feel a little bit jolted. We do feel a little bit confused. And then to move on to square the true node is our soul's path. It's the path that we need to be on in order to get to our soul's mission, our soul's purpose, our vision, our goal. So of course, now we've been rattled emotionally. We've had memories pop up that we've processed now in a different way. We have a different understanding, a different perception of our pain, our trauma, certain situations that had to take place in the past in order to prepare us for where it is that we're currently at. And now, because we're going through this processing situation, we don't know what we're going to do moving forward. Sometimes the dream, the goal, the vision that we had just yesterday doesn't feel the same when we're presented with new information and new opportunities. This square, this tension point, first with this Uranian energy in Taurus affecting our day-to-day life, our physical circumstances, our routines, our relationships, our resources, then to continue and bump into the true node also in this Taurus energy. This is just kind of a lot of uncertainty, a lot of questioning coming up because we just had a shift in our paradigm, a shift in our perspective, a shift in our understanding. Now, the moon is going to bump into Mercury and then bump into the sun in a way that would suggest that there is going to be a situation pop off in our exterior realms that we have no control over. So first of all, The moon bumping into Mercury, ruler of the mental plane, ruler of communication and information, would suggest that we're getting another wave of details, another wave of information. We are, hearing maybe people in our personal relationships speak their truth or say something that's going to disrupt or alter the way that we thought things were. And because this situation is kind of coming forth where the moon represents our heart space and Mercury represents our head space, there is a conflict between our heart and our head. We are no longer on the same page. And I hesitate to even say that because many of us haven't been on the same page for a very long time. This is going to add to it. Now, seeing that Mercury is in Cancer energy, a water energy, a very intuitive water energy, focused on the home, focused on the family dynamic, focused on nurturing oneself, healing one's wounds, and implementing and creating new boundaries in order to protect ourselves. This is going to rock the foundation that we thought we were very solid on. And again, likely affecting personal relationships. When the moon goes ahead and bumps into the sun in the same kind of manner, the sun also in Cancer energy, we're wrapping up the final degrees in Cancer energy, preparing to shift into Leo season late next week, we are having an overlap between the old versus the new. Now, the moon is essentially attached to the old. Luckily for us, it is an Aquarius energy, so we're not so attached emotionally, but we are reflecting back over past situations, past scenarios, in order to see them from a different perspective. Now, the sun over here is trying to illuminate for us what it is that we need to do in the here and now in order to set us up for a better situation moving forward. The sun in Cancer wants us to be a little bit more helpful, encouraging, nurturing towards ourselves. The sun wants us to focus on the chaos, on the dysfunction, if you will, that has kind of crept up in our home and in our personal relationships. The sun also wants us to focus on where it is that we need more safety, security, stability in our lives in order for us to feel emotionally protected. And that comes with recognizing where boundaries have been tested and where we have to be a little bit more aggressive in creating new boundaries and enforcing those boundaries, especially when it comes to our emotions. Now, the moon is going to go ahead and semi-square Jupiter. Jupiter is the planet of growth, expansion, blessings, abundance, and belief. And he tends to magnify, turn the volume all the way up on whatever it is that we're thinking and we're feeling. Jupiter is kind of stationary at this moment. He's preparing to go retrograde late next week as well. And so we're kind of at a standstill. We don't know what to believe. We don't know what our vision is. We don't know what we want more of. We don't know where it is that we need to grow. We don't know where it is that we need to begin. We don't know where it is that we need to initiate a brand new chapter. But we know that something needs to change. Now, here's the thing. When we have a semi-square, that's a little bit of a tension point. And the moon in Aquarius wants us to see the great big vision so that we can break it down into manageable pieces and actually start building the correct foundation that we need to have to get from where it is that we're at to where it is that we desire to be. Jupiter wants us to focus on what it is that we want more of. That's how we figure out what it is that we need to focus on, what it is we need to manifest, what it is that we need to create. The problem is that this tension point has a tendency to push us into a scarcity mindset. So instead of us being, very excited of wanting to pursue new endeavors, wanting more connection, wanting more fire, more passion, more excitement, whatever the case may be, then we kind of seem to dwell on the fact that we don't have any of this now. And we kind of get stuck in the lack of or scarcity mindset, kind of a little bit of a Debbie Downer on all the things that we don't have now. May I remind you to always adopt the attitude of gratitude. It is a great thing to want more for yourself, to want to do better, to want to grow, but do not discount where it is that you're currently at. You worked your ass off in order to get here. The circumstances may not be ideal, but compared to where it is that you've come from, this is a beautiful moment. So don't discount that for 2 seconds. So we have the moon conjunct, coming up to, meeting up with, sitting next to Saturn, its traditional ruler. Aquarian energy ruled over by both Saturn and Uranus. Uranus is the newer, more modern ruler, where Saturn is the more older and traditional ruler. Saturn, being the lord of karma, is retrograde in Aquarius energy. And let me tell you, when these two come together, we are definitely getting a little bit more focus, a little bit more somber, a little bit more down to earth, a little bit more realistic. We have a serious tone. We are focused on our responsibilities. We are really, really looking at new goals, new visions. Our ambition is coming out to play. And with some situations that are popping off in our exterior reality, we have to understand that this particular energy is going to help us to keep a cool and level head. This is a great energy for us to not get swept away in our emotions, which would suggest that the situations popping off in our exterior realm are going to be highly emotionally triggering. Lucky for us, the moon is in Aquarius, detaching us from that emotion so that we can look at things objectively and look at things with the big vision. And Saturn, of course, never lets us get too far ahead of ourselves, wants to keep us very present in the moment and understand where logic and practicality rule over emotions every single time. So with that being said, we now have an interesting aspect between Venus, the goddess of love and beauty and worth and pleasure, who is in her final days of Gemini in the air energy, the mental plane, trying to debate new choices, new decisions, new paths, new opportunities. She is bumping into Pluto, the god of the underworld, the great transformer himself. Now, Pluto is retrograde in Capricorn energy. We just had this whole full moon bump into this Pluto energy in Capricorn, which really kind of highlighted for us where it is that we're feeling powerless, where it is that we need to boss up, where it is that we need more control over our lives. Now, Venus bumping into Pluto is going to really trigger for us power and control issues, may even highlight the darker shadow realm of insecurity, of jealousy, of obsessive thoughts, obsessive thinking. Now, this is going to trigger a total reevaluation, a total reassessment, if you will, of our close and personal relationships. We're taking a deep dive into our heart chakra, into the time and the energy, the attention that we're giving certain people, whether or not we need to boss up there. Again, Venus is in Gemini. We have a lot of choices to make. Venus ruling over money matters as well. We really do have to hone in on our spending habits. We have to hone in on what is bringing us joy and happiness and pleasure. We have to take a good look at our social life as well. Are we putting ourselves out there just to be liked and accepted for other people? Or are we putting ourselves out there because we genuinely enjoy being around said people doing, whatever it is that we're doing? Now, let me just say that Pluto, being the god of the underworld, does have a tendency to highlight all the shadow parts, not to keep us in a state of fear and paralysis, but to hopefully inspire us to use those emotions, that experience, that pain, that suffering, those wounds as inspiration and as a catalyst, as motivation to push ourselves forward. So yes, fear can creep in. Of course, insecurities, jealousy, all of those shadow elements, especially in our personal relationships arising, does not feel good. But it also pushes us when we're in that shadow part in order for us to recognize how it is that we actually think and how it is that we actually feel. Sometimes we can get blinded. Sometimes we can just, go with the flow and not realize whether or not we're actually happy about certain situations. And sometimes we need to sit in the funk in order to feel how uncomfortable we actually are, to figure out whether or not we're on autopilot or whether or not we're living consciously, and recognizing what is bringing us happiness and joy and where it is that maybe we are just not in alignment with the right kinds of people in order to have that particular experience. Now, the moon is going to bump into Neptune in not the nicest way, which would kind of explain that we are adding on to the drama, if you will. Now, this can be very overwhelming. This can be overstimulating. We have a tendency to want to disassociate from reality and not deal with life. Again, riding off of the earlier aspects of highlighting the shadow self and really doing a deep dive into our psyche and our heart space to figure out, what it is that we're doing with the people that we're doing it with and why we're doing it and what it's actually creating for us. This particular aspect would suggest that we're being overwhelmed with emotion, overwhelmed with thought. We can't see clearly. We can't feel clearly. Our intuition is blocked because the ego is at play. When fear and insecurities and uncertainties and doubts are on the rise, that is the ego at play. And so it's very hard for us to calm this particular inner narrative at this particular point because there's a lot of information coming at us, seeing as we're in an experimental phase from the solstice energy that brought in Cancer season to the Lionsgate portal early August. We are experimenting. And when we experiment, we have a lot of questions. We have a lot of curiosities. And we have to go through the process of being very real with ourselves so that we're not wasting this opportunity to create new paths and methods and connections, reconnections, if you will. We need to focus on what it is that we're actually doing in our physical realm and whether or not we are wasting time, wasting energy, wasting our attention just for the sake of, being out there and being on autopilot, or whether we're going to hone this in and get very real with ourselves. And this particular aspect is just going to turn the volume all the way up on all of the negative shadow parts that are coming up for us, which of course is not going to feel good. Luckily for us, just moments later, we do have the moon making a very positive interaction with Mars, the god of war who rules over our physical energy, our drive, our passion, our desire, even our anger. And of course, Mars is in Taurus energy and earth energy. We're going low and slow. We're looking at what it is that we need to bring to life, birth, create in our physical realm as far as, relationships or resources, money matters. Basically, we're looking to stabilize the foundation in our physical realms that don't feel so stable. Now, this particular interaction is a beautiful one because it means that we boss up from that earlier not so nice funk that we had to explore. This is an energy where we become highly motivated, where we become hell-bent and damn well and determined to do better, where we're going to push forward, where we do want better for ourselves, where we do see a new worth, a new value, not only within ourselves, but with the people and the experiences that we actually want to connect with, share with, just overall spend time, energy, and attention with. So it is going to be an excellent way to wrap up the day, especially after the earlier funk that we've been in. But this is definitely setting us up for some very interesting choices and decisions to be solidified, to be validated, to be confirmed. Again, we're moving into the very last degrees of Venus being in Gemini, and then she's going to be moving into Cancer. So we're going to do a deep dive into our heart space and really get in touch with what brings us the most happiness, what brings us the most joy, who brings those elements to our life. But it's all based off of the inner debate, the inner conflict that we're currently trying to hash out in our mental plane by making some of the choices, either to stay in the situations that we're currently in and revolve around the same topics and themes, or whether we are going to make a move and evolve and put ourselves out there in a different way in order to get a different result.